Good afternoon, everyone. All protocols observed.
You
Okay, I'm Rabi FAKUNLE, and I head the Student Support Unit here in Summit University. And I'm here this afternoon to talk about the roles of Student Support Units in knowledge generation. So now the question you're going to ask me is this. If I'm to talk about Student Support Units, the first poser is it doable? I'll say yes. Has it been done before? I'll say yes. And here in Summit University, we work on the Student Support Unit in knowledge generation. Now, while our previous speakers spoke, I could remember Mrs. Ganiya Rabi talked about narrowing. When you do research, you have to have maybe a coinage, a particular point you want to center your research on. So on this, I'm going to be focusing on Summit University as a microcosm representing every other university in Nigeria and beyond. Now, moving on. On my slide, you've noticed I've written that many students within the globe are inundated with difficulties of securing jobs and pursuing academic. It's moving on more than that. And in securing jobs and pursuing academic degrees. Summit University students are no exception. Reason I would use Summit University as a scope at which I would deal with this issue. These difficulties develop as a result of varieties of circumstances, including financial, mental, academic, health-related, and even emotional concerns. From my interaction with students over the years, I realized that we have students from broken homes, we have students having financial issues, we have students suffering from mental torture, we have students suffering from even academic torture and health-related issues. How do you know this? There have to be a line which draw the students closer to know their concerns. And that's the reason we have the student support units. Please, let's do this very well. Okay, resulting from this consideration, they informed the need to build a student support system that provides resources and aid to university students in a variety of areas. And these areas are which I had listed above: the mental areas, psychological, academic, health-related, and emotional concerns. So what do? We have areas of counseling, we have areas of learning assistance, then we have career advising, we have responding to inquiries and general well-being. These programs will give students essential assistance to achieve their academic goals while also improving their mental and intellectual well-being. Let's see something else. Sorry, there was a hiccup somewhere. Let's see the slide. Let's see this.
our presenter has a bit of technical issues. I must say a very big thank you to everyone who has taken the time to attend this workshop series for today. I'm sure that we would be also having more events, more workshop series in the coming weeks. And we also let you know that our admission exercise is still in progress. You visit our website at www.summituniversity.edu.ng. Once you get there, you will be able to navigate around. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, we say a very big thank you to you. We're still awaiting our third speaker. There's a little bit of challenges. So, Raima, so apart from all of this, what would you say you have really learned from all of this? And I want you to speak on behalf of your other fellow researchers now.
Okay, what I have to say is, following what Professor Fata and Mrs. Ganiat has said, I'm very sure that my colleagues and I will surely publish a paper and will not perish. I'm very sure of that.
Oh, let me say that. Let me say that. From my first day here at College University, the former Vice Chancellor, Professor Itubili, they always used to mention that phrase, "publish and not perish." It's really the way it sounds really exhausting, even just merely listening to it. But I mean, we all try what we can do and make sure that we have quality research outputs within and outside Nigeria. And research is for everybody. For us in the academia, it's a lifelong hobby for us, whether you like it or not. I've really come to terms with the fact that I may have to do research all my life, and coming to terms to reality with all of that. And we also do research for various reasons. Even as much as community development that we do, community service that we do as a university, we also make sure that our community service of CSRs are tailored towards relevant research works. We cannot say we want to build a transformer when people need water. So research comes handy in almost every phase of our society. And we at Summit University are committed to doing all of that through the vision of the Vice Chancellor. We have 7 visions that he is looking to work on. And also, in addition to the degrees that we offer, we also offer 7 skills, that would be relevant, in line with the industrial revolution the 4th industrial revolution that we're currently on. We are not only dependent on degrees, we are working on producing graduates that go beyond just having certificates, and that is why Raima is here with me. We have several clubs. We have some CIDA, and we also have a few others. So I'll stop here. Our presenter is back, so you have the floor.
Okay. Okay, sorry for the break in transmission. There were issues we couldn't contend with. Now, moving on. I was talking about why student support. Why have we brought this to fore? Why do we think there is a need for us to have a student support unit? Earlier on, I talked about having issues over the years when we have students in the system and realize that most of their performances are being dashed by several reasons, such as what I had said earlier. So that was the need to bring up student support. Now, what is the vision of the Student Support Unit? The vision of the Student Support Unit is to provide a conducive learning environment that will help students realize their aspirations, tell their stories, equip them with innovative skills through counseling, trainings, symbiotic collaborations, and increase their employability and sustainability in the global market. Now, looking at this, their core words is the conducive learning environments. Like I said, I was going to use Summit University as a microcosm representing all other universities. When a student comes around, you realize that the environment plays a very active role in how the student cohabits with other members. And you also notice that when they are well settled and they have a one-on-one approach in talking to their lecturers or staff involved, they'll be able to relax, tell their stories. You can't have a foresight without looking at where you're coming from. So there should be a synergy between where you're coming from and where you're going to. Then you'll be able to appreciate what it is you're in for. Then when they come in, what do we do? It's just about academics. You would also realize that most students have this innate tendency to build things. We have several skills. We have the soft skills and we have the hard skills. How do you tend to bring this from them? You have time, you counsel them. This is what you're to do. Don't go beyond barriers. Then there are trainings we subject our students to, such that there are ways you have the symbiotic collaborations with outsiders and people in, thus increasing their employability and sustainability in the global market. When these students are employable, do they just get employed for a year? Do they get employed for 2 years? How are they being able to also give to the system and give to the nation? We have to look for ways that we should sustain these attitudes and morals in them. How do we do that? Now, we can't talk about the vision without looking at the vision of the system. Looking up, you realize that we have Professor Ibino there. On coming on board, he had this vision, which is developing innovations and inventions that will be changing the way we live in our communities, defend our nations, and work in Africa. I think we've said this on and on, even from our hosts. Now, looking at what I said earlier, the vision of student support unit, you will see his first vision here is skills. You can't have a system now. Time has gone past the period where you just say, okay, you want the students to be in for just moral and what academics. Skills have to come to fore because you can realize what's happening online now on for the nation. You see that even getting jobs are becoming what's very difficult. Will our students become just job seekers? Why can't they be employers of labor too? Reason we're bringing these skills on board. And you can see training of manpower capable of sustaining and undertaking technological inventions and innovations. And he went on to talk about flexibility of the curriculum in SUNO approved programs. We talked about the introduction of skill acquisition and also introduction of what? Blended learning approach for skills development. Blended learning approach, that is what we've done. We've tried to give a fusion of what we are here to give our students and what the system expects us to give our students. So there's a synergy in what the innovations we're bringing on board and what the nation actually expects. Now, teaching. You can't say a student should learn without having something to put forth. So we are also looking at that in the student support unit, while we provide robust learners-centered education for enhanced teaching and learning, training and reorientation of stakeholders, proper monitoring, rejuvenation and existing laboratories and teaching infrastructures. These are things we're going to put to fore and ensure that our students have all it takes to have the competition with the wider world. Now, fund generation 2, then we have the collaboration. This is a very sensitive part. Okay, when we have our students on board, we say, okay, we want to give them the mental breakdown, we want to have them to have the health, the moral and all. You see some students outside the smoke, even mentally, they are not upright because of several issues emanating from where they are coming from and where they are at the moment. So what do we do? After molding them to what we expect the society to get, how do we collaborate? There are several ways to collaborate. Moving on, we're going to be enlightened more on that. Then I talked earlier on sustainability, then here research. I think that has been overflowed. Our first speaker talked about research. Mrs. Afolabi also talked about research. So I think we should move forward. Now, how do we work on the vision? Skills, providing innovative capacity building trainings at various stages. Now, for the student support unit, what have we done? We've divided these skills or training section into 3 stages. We have the learning stage. At the learning stage, what do? We have trainings, we have skill acquisitions, and we have lectures. When we talk about trainings, we have an entrepreneur center, we have our students on board, and we need to ask them, what can you do? What do you think you can do? And what can we expose you to? Sometimes students have this problem of not even knowing what to do. So we subject them to several trainings. There they are able to pick and pitch on what it is they can do. Have we done it? Yes. Are we still doing it? Yes. Then we also have the skill acquisition. Skill acquisition, trainings and lectures, they are all interwoven. You can't talk about one without implicating the other. Then how do we do this? We have an on-site lecture that we have the skill acquisition, we have the trainings. Recently, we've had drone trainings, we've had several other trainings such that our students will be so equipped and they can also give back to the economy. Now, for the lectures, we have several lectures we've given out. What are these lectures? We have moral lectures. Okay, we have our students on board. What are the manners is expected from you when we go out? From our 200 level, 300 level, we expose our students to CWES. So it's expected that when they go there, they are trying to represent the system in greater limelight. So we give them such lectures on how to comport yourself when you find yourself outside, and it starts from the university. They're looking at the religion background. What do we do? We also have lectures in that sphere, telling them, okay, this is what you do, this is how you dress, this is what you should learn, and how do you advise career-wise? What do you do? Is this how, this is where you're to go to? Is this fit for you? Is this not fit for you? Looking at what inquiries, they also respond to their inquiries, because you realize that most often than not, students have a whole lot bothering them, but they stay in their shells except you have to bring them out. So we have an opening such that students can come online. If they can't come to you physically, they can come online, put their needs, then such a way that we can also come, call them, have our own session with them, and make sure they have a full general well-being. Now we have the transition period. What's the transition period? Like it connotes, when you're transitioning from a stage to another, that means you're leaving a particular stage for another. Meaning that when the transition period starts from maybe 300 level, because we have students from COMAS, that's College of Management Sciences, we also have from CONAS, College of Natural Sciences, they go on CWES, and it's expected that they have several trainings before they leave. They also need to learn. Then this period is when they are almost leaving, that's during the CWES period, and when they have left. But that doesn't mean after they've left, you still leave them on their own. You still have these trainings. That's why we have the online training, and this learning is still what's continual. Then we also talk about job placements. When your students come, this is a private system. And it's also, you realize that most times when students graduate, they're just there, no job placement. They don't even know how to seek for those jobs. They don't know how to fix themselves. They don't even know the channel at which they could have their jobs fixed. So we are here to counsel them. We are here to expose them. We are here to assist them in job placement. And we are also here to give them support to find their routes in life. Most times they find difficulties knowing, okay, this is our route, this is where we should go. So what do? We serve as parents in the system, leading them on till they get to the stage we feel, yes, we're satisfied with. Also, we have students that want to go for their postgraduate studies. We also move them, okay, this is where you should be. These are good schools you could leverage on. Then also, we also have students where they don't want to even work. They just want to school. Some even want to become full housewives. That's not bad. How do we cater for these students? What do we do? How do we try to expose them to what they can do even while at home? These are things we also seek to take care of. Then we have the post-transition period. This period can also be called the tracer period. What do we do? I am in Summit University. Like it was said, I graduated from Al Hikma University. There were times that my university sent messages to Summit University having to get a review. What has she done? How is she going? How can she give back to the system? And I make bold to tell you that right now, while in Summit University, I still lecture as a part-time lecturer in Al Hikma. I want to believe if they had not traced me up to that level and have positive feedback, I don't think there will be reasons why I should be with them to maybe give back to the system. So during post-transition period, we are here to say, okay, this is where you are. How do we go about it? What can you give back to the system? So at this period, you just get to realize that it becomes a symbiotic stage. It's a give and take thing. We still keep giving and still keep getting our feedback. So it's more like a round system. It keeps rolling and rolling. When you build students to a level that they're on their own, it gets to a level that you don't even seek for anymore. These students give back when you're looking for jobs. Oh, you can call one of them, okay, this is where we are, this is where we want to be. And with that, they are also coming forth. And that brings us to the alumni page. Now, collaboration. Building a healthy and symbiotic relationship across various units, departments, institutions, parastatals globally. Now, when we talk about the Summit student support unit, we have an office, yes, but when the students come, you know, we have several students coming from several departments. Everybody is involved. It's a family affair right now. So when a student comes and feel, okay, this student is in political science, this student, this student is good at pitching. You realize our host pitches very well. That's Mr. Salau. Okay, go to Mr. Salau. Mr. Salau should be able to do this better. Oh, I can see that this student is good at research. Like you also have heard, you have students there that are research assistants. How do you build them? There we have what Mrs. Afolabi. So we have Mrs. Mohammed, who caters for advancement to research, and she also caters for how students comport themselves according to their religion. Then we have the guidance and counseling units. I'll put it forward to you. Even where we work, even if you're not a lecturer, in every system we are, you would notice that you meet some people and begin to wonder, why are they like this? Why are they bringing up this attitude? Why would they be behaving like this? What really is the cause? So the university system is also not an exception. We meet students like that. We don't throw them out. We don't tell them go. We have our hands open. Where do we take them to? There we have the guidance and counseling units with the hope of molding them and shaping them into what the society would take and applaud. Then earlier on, I talked about student industrial work experience scheme, that's the internship. We collaborate with parastatals, companies, industries, institutes. They also collaborate with us. It's a symbiotic system. We give and they give too. So it's easy for us to say, okay, we have a collaboration with this particular place, let our students go there. And it's a way of widening our scope. It's a way of selling our university to the world. It gets to a stage that we don't even have to do the advertisements anymore. Our students tend to speak for us wherever they are. Then sports. We know that sports all over the world, sports play an integral part. We have several footballers, and some people would say, he's making his money. Some of them went to school, but they realize that this is where they can thrive better. And sometimes you get to notice that what brings us together, often when you talk about football, you see two enemies when they meet at the, where they have their center, the sports, they don't even get to look at, where are you from? Are you pitching for Arsenal? Are you pitching for Manchester? It doesn't work that way. All of a sudden they become friends. So it's a way of harmonizing us. It's a way of making the mood lighter. And it's also a way of pitching. Who are our students? How can they also give us out to sports? How can we even build them as being sports administrators? So these are several collaborations we're bringing to fore that I think every institution should also pitch on and making the institution a better place to stay. Then still working on the vision, sustainability, which I had said earlier. So how do we do it in student support? We ensure that all we've said earlier continues. It should be persistent and we should have an improved student support service. How do we do this? We'll have continual and functional learning management system, which is the LMS. Then we generate questions as computer-based tests. I make both tell you that even while our students are on holidays, they are still working. We don't let them be. Right now, as I talk to you, we still have students on site, on spot in school, still doing things. So how do we get to monitor them? We have some questions as CBT. So in the comfort of their homes, wherever they are, they can still work while at home. Then we go further to have embedding specific courses into general studies. We all know that the NUC curriculum is now choked up. Looking at the DMAS, talking about university setting. So how do we fix these things in such that the curriculum still caters for all we want to do, such that we have a whole students when they finally graduate. So we've tried to embed specific courses which are coined in the system into general studies, such that the way students are, they could be very witty sometimes. If you don't fix it and peg it into scores, they might not sit up. Such a way that we make it more interesting and lively for them to be in. Then establishing an alumni. Fine. When we are done, do we just leave them that way? Okay, they are done with school. We can't even say this is where our students are. And when it comes to tracer period, how do we do that? So we have an alumni group where we post things. We tell them where we are. We get advice from them. What do we do? This is where we are. What do you suggest we can do better? Because now it's now a system. They're part of us. And these are people that will end up being stakeholders in the system. So alumni forms an integral part of what the student support unit. Then we also have career mentorship programs for students during holidays, which just started. We have a functional online interface by the student support units. We are going online. We realize we have our emails. We have a functional online interface such that the students don't have to come to school to have their problems solved. Then we also have the constant update on advertisements, scholarship, and job opportunities for students and alumni. Some minutes ago when Mr. Falabi was presenting, we were still on. I know I was still on, sending scholarship opportunities, giving out adverts. As at yesterday, our host, Mr. Salau also ensured that I had more to send to the students. So it's an all thing. Everybody sees the support system. You're here, you're there. It's a whole thing. I'm just there just as the face for student support, but it's something everybody in the university does. Then also, we also try to ensure novel and innovative ideas towards enhancing trainings, job creation, purposeful collaboration. Our first speaker and our second speaker hinged on something. They said when you're going on research, you don't have to just sit and say, okay, let me go back to what happened 5 years ago. It might become obsolete. So what have we done to make sure we're still on board and we're still on tab with our students and the nation? We make sure we are in tab with what is happening. What are the novel ideas that we can pitch on? What are the innovative ideas we can come on board with? Like what Mr. Salau said earlier, Student Support Unit is an innovation by our VC. He's been doing wonderfully well. Professor Musa Abiodun Aibinu has been doing really well. And this is an innovation for us here in Summit University. Moving on, still on the roles of Student Support Unit, what do we do? What are we set to achieve? Student support services are resources and assistance provided to students in order to implore and improve their academic and personal growth. What I said earlier are things we bring to fore to ensure that both the hands, the heart, and the head are functional. Head to reason, heart to think, and the hand to do stuff. The services are available to students in a variety of areas, including academics, career, just to foreground what I said earlier. Moving on, students will be advised on various career routes based on their interests and strengths in this scenario. I had explained that area just to buttress what I initially said. Then this will enable students visualize and pick relevant career choices. In the bid of making students know, okay, this is what we can do, this is what you should do, it's not words of mouth. We have several ways we brought this to fore. Okay, do the see it, feel it, try it, and see how possible it is for you to pitch on this. Moving on, the unit is also responsible for a variety of services, which I said earlier, just to buttress. Students will be exposed to hard and soft skills. Hard skills, the essentials, soft skills, what are things you can do? What are things you can bring on board? By providing innovative capacity building trainings at various stages, thus preparing them for the wider world. Recently, we had lectures on research. We had students who came as research assistants, where we were working on several grants. These are other ways of capacity building trainings we've done. We've worked on drone. We've worked on entrepreneur. There were even times we had to have our students, our final year students, pitch on what it is they've written and see how well they can defend what it is they've written. Students and faculties will supply these varieties of seminars targeted at imparting skills in a variety of areas that are not often addressed in the academic curriculum. Most academics online would also bear witness that when you look at our curriculum, most times you say, no, this should be there. Don't you think this should be there? We should have fixed this should have been there. So what the student support units have come to look at the curriculum. What is it that has not been addressed? How do we put it? How do we fix it? How do we impart this such that we have students coming as whole in the system? Still on, I talked about CWES earlier on. I talked about training and workshop earlier on. Then I talked about employment openings and prospective industry connections. I'll also be happy and excited to tell you that we have establishments who are willing and have been convinced beyond reasonable doubt to work with us. That is an information we've had for so long a time, but I'm still excited to bring it to fore. Then I'll be talking about the rules. How do we bring these modes of rules to implement during the learning stage? The learning stage starts from our 100 to 300 level and still moves on to the 400 level before we get to a tracer period. So what do we do? Participatory learning approach. Life has gone beyond coming to class and just pouring. What do you have to offer? I keep telling my students when I come to class, you don't expect me. I have a whole lot to learn from you. You should have a lot to learn from me too. So it should be a symbiotic approach to learning. So that is what participatory learning approach is all about. What do you have to offer? Give them assignments, see how well they can pitch, expose them to various ideas and see how well they can come up with it. You have 2 periods of learning. What do you do with it? Okay, a period for myself, a period for the other. Let's see what they can bring to fore. That is what the participatory learning approach. Then we have the presentation and speech clinic. That, like Mr. Salau said earlier, we have clubs in school. We have the drone club, right? The drone club, and we have the SUMSIDA club. That's Summit University, public speaking, Scrabbling, interacting, debating, and the likes. So it gives room for you to come out, pitch, talk, present. Because I can remember while I graduated, the first time I went for my proposal for masters, it was a flop because I was jittery. I couldn't present well. So that has made me realize that when students are coming up at the initial stage, catch them young, expose them to this, how do you speak? Some people have ideas, but coming on board, they can't pitch. They can't say what it is they have. So we have the speech clinic, like the clinic, what they do, the cure, the give, advice, and also we do all of this too, in speech clinic and presentations. We also have tutorial sessions where we have students from other universities, our universities coming together to share ideas, then work and study. This work and study, what does it bring? Mr. Salau said something earlier. He was talking about research assistants, and he said they are paid research assistants. It would pay you to know that these students are students of Summit University. We also have collaboration with FE teaming and students. While they study, they still work and they get paid. And hands are not equal, fingers are not equal. There are times you feel, okay, students in a private university, students even in the university, federal university, state university, and they can't even take care of their needs. The economy, the situation in the economy it's nothing to write home about. We all are facing it. So that is why we come up with this innovation: work and study. Then scholarship. Well, when we have good students, then we see things you can offer. There are scholarship slots, so you can say, okay, this is what you can do. Then history, time, and heritage. History time. Looking back, when we see our kids, even myself, there are histories that we don't even know. And you can't talk about the future without giving it back to history. So we expose our students to time where we can tell them this is where you're coming from and this is where you're going, to know your heritage, know what it is that molds you, so you know how to present yourself when you meet yourself in such situation. And still, what are our goals? Our goals being the initial point of contact for students on any issue. I think I'm very lenient enough. Students can come around physically, have their issues solved. Okay, this is not my field. Okay, go meet Dr. Morana, go meet Mr. Afolabi, go meet Dr. Zubar, go meet Mr. Salau. I think Mr. Salau should be getting tired of the incessant calling of his name. Then establishing an alumni, I already talked about that earlier. Then the hallmark of all is making Summit University products a strong force to reckon with in the world and all facets of nation building. That is our hallmark. Making Summit University products a strong force to reckon with in the world and all facets of nation building. Then all care to student employability, academic grades of students. That's we're really hitting on it from 100 level, what you should do, how to come up with good grades and the likes, student response and surveys and questionnaires, the ability of students to use skills acquired that I said earlier, reports, assignments, 10 papers, grants, research writing, and the likes. Then students' motivation. How do you motivate them? Our students here as research assistants, how do you motivate them? Sometimes you motivate them cash-wise, give advice, bring them on board, just like we've done with Alayaki. Alayaki is also a student. What level? 200 level. And she's also a co-host. That's the way of motivating students and making them realize this is doable. We can do it. Then creativity and innovation in exhibitions, projects, and competitions. I'm using this medium to say, hopefully, when we have our exhibitions, you will be invited through the space. Then, conclusion. all we stand for. Summit University Student Support Service section will be useful and necessary for student development and academic advancement, creativity, and personal well-being. And this will benefit from the services and resources made available to them. We still keep trying. We're bringing up more. I hope it gets enough. Those beneficial effects will be realized because students will receive help and guidance in areas that would ordinarily impede their studies, which I said in the first slide. Emotions sometimes get flawed during exams. There are issues, finance, health. So by the time you bring them close and know what the problems are and looking for a way to give them guidance, and this would not impede their studies. And they'll also be inspired and encouraged since the support services will unveil to them that they're not alone and that the institution supports them personally and intellectually. Thank you. So moving forward, this is our contact information. If you have anywhere you think you can help, any advice that you have to give, any collaboration you want to have with us, this is our office address, Student Support Unit, Summit University, Offa, Kwara State. Our email address, studentsupport@summituniversity.edu.ng. Then as the acting coordinator, I have mine below. And also copy me, fakunle.rabiat@summituniversity.edu.ng. Then the contact number. I hope someday we'll be able to avail contact numbers. Then this is our LinkedIn address. I've availed mine and I've availed the school's LinkedIn address. So feel free to contact us. Thank you.